arenas that I'm discussing here through big tech, spying out our liberty in a stealth manner, watching what we do, shadow banning many people because they don't like their message, because it goes against the message of the deep state. It goes against the message of the intelligence agencies and what they believe. And those are agents of the deep state. I'm going to just say it very plainly and clearly. Many of us know that. And I'm sure that there's some agents that are, maybe they believe the way some of us conservatives do. But for the most part, both of those agencies are agents of the deep state. And they are abusing the lives of the American people. And the American people must, if we don't stand up right now within these last 2 years where Trump's in, because we have a reasonable government right now in the White House. Maybe we don't agree with every one of their decisions. I don't. But they are a reasonable government that will at least hear us out, and maybe they'll help us bring about change in our society in this regard. But we, the people, we must speak up, and the time is right now. Today at Deanna's studio. Today we are going to be discussing part 2 of the podcast Spying Out Our Liberty, where we are discussing how our civil liberties are being undermined by, I had in the last podcast I discussed how the intelligence agencies, how they're very much, there's, especially like the FBI, they're supposed to be there to protect the American people, to defend the rights of the American people through their investigations and, this and that. But they are actually the very ones that are targeting us and undermining, spying on us through technologies. And strategizing, scheming, against us, undermining the freedoms of the American people, and just treating the American people at times like they're terrorists, putting them on the government watch list, things like that. And in today's podcast, I'm going to continue on in along this line. But we are going to discuss, I'm going to give an example. I'm going to be showing a video of a podcaster, and she considers, I think, herself to be a journalist. Her name is Sarah Westall. She's excellent. She does excellent work, and she's going to discuss how big tech has been censoring. She's confronting big tech censorship. And this is a very clear example of how our liberties are being undermined, how we have those within the big tech. We also have the intelligence agencies that are undermining our freedoms, our constitutional rights for one thing. And when these government officials are violating our constitutional rights, then they are committing felonies. Now, in Sarah's case, she's dealing with big tech censorship, how they shadow ban people, and it also comes out in the video how even like business owners, they're being shadow banned too, where they don't have the pool of audience that they should have because the deep state, these deep state assets or agents, or like the CIA and the FBI, I would consider many, and I'm sure that there's probably some people in both of those agencies that are good people, but for the most part, the leadership, those that are leading, and I mean they're allowing this to happen. So they're allowing these things to happen, this corruption and this abuse, and lying about the American people, stalking them, shadow banning them, watching what, in a stealth manner, spying on them. And they are spies, in just as the type of work that they do, they kind of carry out their work as, like spies. They are spy organizations, spy agencies. So in the first video, I gave the reference to, I referenced that sometimes you will see certain things happening in the spirit realm, in the realm of the spirit, like, and I gave the example of Galatians 2:4, where the Apostle Paul was dealing with, he called them false brethren. He actually referred to them as fake, they're like fake Christians, that they came in to infiltrate their church services, posing as if they were Christians that believed along the line that this church did, but yet they were trying to undermine the teachings of Jesus Christ, the whole message of the grace of God, salvation by grace through faith, the work of the cross, and they were trying to unload and to try to pull the people away from that type of teaching and to undermine the teachers that were teaching that, and to deceive the congregation and to pull them over into their own belief system, which was legalism, and the law of Moses, and it's by abiding by the keeping the 10 Commandments, basically. And so I went into detail about that, but I shared about how in this case they were dealing with that type of a spiritual problem, spiritual issue, where and he referred it to, these people have come in, false brethren, to spy out our liberty. And we can see the same thing happening in both of these arenas that I'm discussing here, through big tech spying out our liberty in a stealth manner, watching what we do, shadow banning many people because they don't like their message, because it goes against the message of the deep state. It goes against the message of the intelligence agencies and what they believe. And those are agents of the deep state. I'm going to just say it very plainly and clearly. Many of us know that. And I'm sure that there's some agents that are, maybe they believe the way some of us conservatives do. But for the most part, both of those agencies are agents of the deep state. And they are abusing the lives of the American people. And the American people must, if we don't stand up right now, within these last 2 years, where Trump's in, because we have a reasonable government right now in the White House. Maybe we don't agree with every one of their decisions. I don't, but they are a reasonable government that will at least hear us out, and maybe they'll help us bring about change in our society in this regard. But we, the people, we must speak up, and the time is right now. And that's what that's what we're going to discuss in this video. I wanted to, before I show the video though, I wanted to just define some things about, what our civil liberties are. When it talks about, okay, so our civil liberties, were designed to protect the American people from interference and overreach of our own government. Because let's face it, folks, none of us are perfect, right? None of us are perfect people, and our government also is not perfect. So sometimes we the American people, we have a role to play, and we have to confront when our our constitutional rights and our, you know, our like First Amendment or Fourth Amendment rights or any of those rights or civil liberties, when they are being infringed upon, when the government is overstepping, they're not staying within the boundaries that they have agreed that they would stay into, because our government is there to serve we the people, and we the people, we have a voice and we have a place and a role that we need to step up into. And sometimes we have to confront this infringement, you know, of our rights. And, you know, when I say infringement, what I'm talking about is an encroachment or a trespass. They're trespassing upon our rights, our legal rights, and our privileges as American citizens. And you know what? They're not going to stop unless we make them stop, some of them. So we have to step it up. We need to come together. And that's what I'm attempting to do right here. And I'm using these other podcasters that have spoken out against it. I think that that's what we need to do. And then we need to share these messages with others. We need to come together and collaborate with each other and say, and be the voice of we the people, and take the role that is rightfully ours to take. But we have to take action, and we need to step up. And the time to do that is now, because we just don't know what's coming after Trump. We could look at what happened with the Biden administration. I mean, I assume that after Trump, because the Democratic Party is not the same, it was horrible to have Joe Biden in the White House, and the way the American people were abused, and our Constitution was basically chucked out the door, you know, out the window. That was thrown out. And our rights were all trampled on as a result. And now those people that we call the Democratic Party, actually they are the Communist Party, folks. Okay, let's be real. You want to call them Socialist Party, that's fine, but socialism is communism. So the Marxists, you know, the Marxists and all that, that's all very similar to communism. And then we also have these technocrats now to deal with, right? And one of the founders of that movement, his last name was Scott. I'm forgetting his first name, but his last name is Scott. I read up on some information about him. And what I discovered is that the technocrat movement is very similar to communism. But this man, Scott, said he liked communism, but he felt like communism was too soft. He wanted things to be, you know, stricter, more stern, more stricter, and all that. So it wasn't strict, it wasn't harsh enough for him, for his taste. So understand, this is what we have coming down the pike. And there's technocrats infiltrating people with that belief system that already have infiltrated our government. And if they take over after Trump, my goodness, okay, what are we gonna? I mean, it's over for us if that's the kind of government we're gonna have. We're gonna be completely enslaved, and that's what this is all about. I want to shine the light on this and expose it. And please, American citizens, if you are dealing with similar things as myself and these other podcasters, please speak up right now. Let's come together and speak out against this. I think that now we've dealt with enough, and I think that right now we really need to deal with this matter, and we need to not accept no as an answer. No, we have to, because our government is supposed to be the servants of the people. And if the people say we take a stand against this, and we force their hands to bring about change and to adhere to what they have agreed to. You know, when they stepped into those positions, they agreed to carry out their government within the parameters of our Constitution, within the parameters of our civil liberties. And obviously they're not being enforced. So now, whenever the government is not willing to do the right thing, then it's time for the people to rise up and speak out against it and demand that they do the right thing. Because that's what they signed up for. They're not carrying their end of the deal if if they're not doing that. Okay, so examples of our civil liberties, freedom of speech. Okay, so what I have found out about freedom of speech is we have the right as American citizens to criticize any government official if we feel like they are violating our rights as American citizens legally. Legally, they're violating them. Then we have the right to speak out against it in order to hold them accountable, in order to try to promote change within our society, to make this a better nation, a free nation. We were many of us were born here in the United States. We were born children of freedom, and we need to fight for that freedom. We need to continue to fight for that freedom in order for it to be retained within our nation. Okay, if we stay silent and just let the deep state run us to the ground, then you know what, it's our fault for being silent. So Americans, please speak up right now. Let's do something about this now. Okay, we have a right to speak out when we feel like our government is not carrying out their jobs well. Some of them, they're afraid of the CIA. Kevin Shipp, the ex-CIA agent, he says the CIA typically runs the White House. They're afraid. Congress members, and what people are always saying, what members of Congress, they're so weak. Well, they're afraid of the CIA. The CIA controls Congress. We need to confront the CIA. As scary as that sounds, we need to be brave right now. We need to rise up right now. And if there's a lot of people rising up and confronting the FBI and the CIA in their corruption, confronting those fusion centers, then if there's a lot of people that are rising up, it's not so scary after all. It's more scary when you're the Lone Ranger who's doing that. But when you have many people that are saying, yeah, that's happening to me too. And that's what's going on with these videos of these ladies that these podcasters that I'm sharing. Okay, freedom of speech, freedom of religion. There should never be a time in the United States when our government is saying, oh, there's only one religion, this one world religion. There should never be that. We have a right, whether we agree with others' religious belief systems or not, that's not the point. Everybody should have a right to choose. Do you want to be a Christian? Do you want to be a Catholic? Do you want to be Muslim? Do you want to be Buddhist? Do you want to be whatever? Even though we may not agree with those belief systems, as long as they're not violent and they're not hurting other people, then hey, people have the right to worship however they choose to worship in the God that they worship. And we can criticize them, because that's our right as American citizens, freedom of speech. Okay, freedom of press. We can watch whatever news cycle, whatever media source we want, whether that is CNN, which I wouldn't recommend, but people have the right to do that, or independent media sources. Okay, and that's our right as American citizens, a right to assemble, like in a church setting, or let's say somebody has a protest or whatever. We have the right to assemble, the right to express opinions, to practice any religion, to publish information, to peaceably protest without government censorship or restriction. Right to privacy, protection against unreasonable searches. I've had people coming into my house, breaking in. See this piece of furniture right here? That's my file cabinet. I had gone on a trip out of state. I come back, and then it looked like somebody got into that. I had the door locked to my office. Somebody broke in, and around the keyhole there's scrapes on the wood. I could tell somebody broke into it. And I have a feeling it was either the intelligence agencies or local law enforcement. I'm not doing anything wrong. There's no reason for them to do that. We've had all kinds of stuff going on around here, and I won't get into it, but these rights are being infringed upon. And it's not just me. Many Americans are going through things like this. And it's coming, a lot of it is coming from the deep state, it's coming from those intelligence agencies, and they have yet to be confronted. They need to be put in check. They need to have boundaries placed around them, because they're like wild dogs running loose with rabies, rabid dogs with rabies, going around biting people and scaring people and doing all that, intimidating people. It's not right. It needs to be confronted, and it needs to be confronted right now. Okay, right to a fair trial, right to due process. When it says right to a fair trial, it means a speedy trial, a public trial in court, legal counsel, right to a fair trial. I'm sorry, I read that right. Right to due process, guarantee that the government will treat all people fairly, impartially through established legal procedures. Right to bear arms. We have the right to protect ourselves, to keep and to bear weapons for self-defense. That is our right. Unlike civil rights, which protect against discrimination and ensure equal access to opportunity, civil liberties acts as a barrier preventing the government from infringing on personal autonomy and basic freedoms. So our civil liberties were designed to be a barrier and to set a boundary so that our government and our intelligence agencies, law enforcement, whoever it is, even big tech, that they would not encroach upon or trespass upon, spying on us, having their hands all in our computers and our phones and all kinds of stuff, okay, as American citizens. And okay, let me read that one here. Civil liberties are fundamental rights and freedoms that governments pledge not to restrict, either through Constitution. So they agreed to this. They pledged not to restrict. They pledged to do this, and they're falling back on what they agreed to. They're not keeping their end of the deal. So when they're doing that, we need to confront that. We do not need to be silent right now. Right now is the time to speak up, because our voices very well could be heard. We don't know, but you know what? It's worth a try. It's worth a fight, because it's definitely something that we need to fight for. And when Trump is gone, the reasonable government might be out of the White House, and we're going to have these communists in there, and you know what? We will have no voice. They already created the COVID camps were our concentration camps, folks. And they have already established those. So right now is the time to speak up while we have a voice right now. Okay, and we'll see, and we just see what happens. If there's a lot of people hitting this and confronting it, then you know what? Maybe they will hear us and respond to us. But I really believe that we really need to rise up right now. I don't mean in violence. I just mean, hey, confront this stuff. If you're a podcaster, talk about it. Bring on guests. Write books. Do whatever it takes. We need to confront it, or contact people in our government that can possibly help out. Right? Okay. So they pledge to not restrict, either through constitution, legislation, or judicial interpretation, without due process of the law. That's what they agreed to, folks. That's what they agreed to, okay? And if they're not keeping their end of the deal, we need to confront it. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and show the video. It's Maria Z. It's her network, Z Media, and she has on her guest Sarah Westall. And Sarah Westall is a journalist, and she's discussing how her civil liberties and her First Amendment rights possibly are being trampled on by big tech. Okay, so I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you back here in just a few minutes.
Thank you so much for joining us for this special report tonight, brought to you by the Vigilant Fox and Z Media. I'm your host, Maria Z. Before we get started, please remember to follow this channel if you're not already. Remember to like the video and give us your thoughts in the comments below. Before Trump was president, he discussed the need for a digital Bill of Rights, which would include content creators having a digital due process. Nothing of the sort has materialized, and in fact, we've seen continued censorship and shadow banning of independent journalists who aren't part of the approved influencer network or those purporting to be independent media that have replaced the mainstream media in order to propagandize us perpetually. We, of course, are directly impacted by this, but it goes beyond just the journalists affected because it affects all of you. You follow someone because you trust their reporting. You go to the effort of attempting to listen to the information they're bringing, which can help you to take actions that will actually materialize in real change, and you're not just watching them simply for entertainment. But the collusion between governments and big tech hasn't gone anywhere, and now one brave journalist is suing them to finally find out through discovery what exactly is the mechanism that they are using and finally help to put a stop to it. Sarah Westall joins us now to discuss. Sarah Westall, thank you so much for joining us today. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Maria. I really am honored to be here.
It's great to see you. I've been really looking forward to connecting with you for some time. I think you do incredible work. And much like many true independent journalists, people are often struggling to hear the truth because they're so heavily propagandized by what claims to be independent media but is not. And, you know, you have been a victim of censorship and shadow banning and all of the tactics that they use to silence true journalists. So talk to us about that. You are now, you've filed a lawsuit. So let's get into that story, please.
Oh, geez. Well, the lawsuit, it's a little bit of a continuation of the original lawsuit that happened, but it's new. We had to file a new one because there was new grievances that we had. But back in 2020, I call it the day the internet died. That's when they just blanket took out all sorts of people, right? And I think everybody remembers that October 15th, 2020, and there was a group of us that ended up suing Google. Zach Voorhees contacted me, and we helped get this group of people together, and then we ended up going to the Ninth Circuit. And we ended up, that group of 17 of us, it was 15 of us, I think, had more views than, together, us 15 had more views than mainstream media did on cable. We were a powerhouse, and they had to take us down. And so you add all these other people that got taken down too. We were dwarfing the mainstream media, and they were losing the narrative, and they had to take people down. And that's what they did. They took everybody down, and then they gave them time to put their players, the mainstream media, kind of all filtered into the internet and change the dynamics, is what we're seeing today, right? It's a different world. And for those of us who aren't controlled and putting out narratives that they control, we get suppressed. No matter how good our journalism is, no matter how much we are truthful, they suppress us because it's not the narrative they want out there. And I know you are suffering with that as well. And I know people have fatigue when it comes to this whole censorship issue. I have more things that are just outrageous that I'm going to share with people. But people are fatigued with it, right? And they don't want to hear about it. They think that we're just complaining. But in reality, this is one of the most important things that's hitting this country in the world that we can talk about. Because when you combine in Smith-Mudd Act, which is the ability in 2012, they made it legal for the U.S. government to propagandize the people. And then you combined it with weaponizing Section 230, which gives big tech complete immunity to completely censor. And you have the government coercing them to do that. Now you have the ability to do propaganda and the ability to censor those who are counteracting that propaganda and bringing truth to people. Yeah, it's a messy world, and there's going to be people who aren't telling the truth too. But people eventually get more wise, and they sort it out, and they start to figure out who's actually bringing them good information. Those voices are being shut down while they're propagandizing the people. That is a recipe for destroying civilization itself.
You know what? You make such a good point. People are fatigued with this issue and sick of hearing about it, and it seems like we're just complaining. Imagine that you own a construction company and you're building a house and you're about to complete building that house, or you complete it and you're about to put it on the market, and the government comes and crushes it and only allows 3 people. They say, right, no, you are actually not allowed to display this open home for sale. Only 3 people are allowed to come and view it, whereas you might have had 1,000 people come and view this house. So it greatly lowers your ability to actually show the home. It lowers your ability. I know that this is like a really sort of lofty explanation, but it lowers your ability to get the price for the home that you would if you had the interest and the competition there and people putting bids in. That's just one example of the government coming in and completely stopping your business dead in its tracks before anyone even has the opportunity to assess, as a free market would, whether they like your business or not. That is what censorship of independent media, if I can just give a sort of real world example, kind of is. Or you own a restaurant and you're trying to serve food and the government stops you from serving the food or anyone ever being able to pay the bills. And furthermore, they mandate that you shut the door and you can only have it open between a very, very, very teeny window of the day and you're only allowed 3 customers in. That's kind of what shadow banning and censorship is like. So not only does it stifle your business because you can't advertise to as many people, not as many people are seeing your stuff, but more importantly, you can't actually spread information that is going to affect change and better the country in a more positive way, that's going to make people more prosperous, that's going to make them more aware, that's going to result in actual practical political action. There are so many negative downstream effects of what they're doing to people, but it is literally the government in collusion with big tech stopping a business from being able to do its operations. That's actually what it is.
It is. We actually filed antitrust, which is what that is.
Right.
And and people think it's just some journalists, but this is actually affecting small business everywhere. That if you're not a trusted business, you don't get prominent viewpoints either. You don't get your views up there. And some businesses have no way of getting out there other than through independent media. Right? I mean, there's some businesses that are trying to solve problems that are affecting our society, and they have to get it through independent media because mainstream just won't accept that. This is truly an antitrust case, and that's how it's filed.
Yeah, okay, so it's filed as an antitrust case. It's not just, something that's only going to impact you and your operation. It's actually going to
This little-known cholesterol particle makes LDL sticky, so it clogs up your blood vessels. It ignites harmful inflammation, and it can even cause blood clots as well.
have far wider implications for the community as a whole, businesses, the viewers, everyone. So talk to us about that.
Well, what we really want to do is we want to get discovery. We want to show that there's filters put on us. We want to show that there's an NGO network and institutions that are working with the government to put filters across the internet on viewpoints, on things that they don't agree with. There's other things that are out there that people don't even realize, like the bias fact checker that has me down as like a low misinformation that is on every, the browsers, the AIs, libraries, universities use it, and they use it to value whether I'm a trustworthy person or not. And you look at this bias fact checker, there's nobody you can talk to. And I'm getting off topic on my lawsuit, but this is really important. This bias fact checker is like considered one of the top ones out there. And the one article that I wrote that they analyzed me on is absolutely accurate. It's on DARPA M3's program. And I quoted the top scientists and DARPA, and it's almost all quotes and framing what they're actually doing. And then the other two things were a website that wasn't even mine, and then an article that wasn't even written by me. So it was all like misinformation, but they're using it Princeton University, all these big universities use it as a way to value journalists. And that's what it's so awful. It's so off and it's not accurate, but that's what they use, and it's automated everywhere. And it's a great example because that's what they're doing behind the scenes, putting filters on you, on me, on everyday people that comment wrong, and they're making it so that you're not visible. I know many people that aren't journalists who have almost no views anywhere because they don't comment properly. So it's, and some of this I can understand is if we decide that we don't want certain language and we don't want certain things, we can make a decision that we don't want to see some of that, but they're making the decision for us. And when they're able to propagandize the people and then censor, we're in deep trouble. Now, Tulsi Gabbard just put out documents just recently, last Friday, showing that the U.S. government was actually funding biolabs around the world. They were in super drive, claiming that it wasn't true and censoring anybody that was talking about it. It kind of came out that it was true all along. Now, these kinds of things put the entire world in jeopardy, and we need to know about this stuff. This is what good journalism is. And if they're able to shut down you across the board for doing good journalism, we put the entire world at risk.
Yeah, we are.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that video with Sarah Westall and also Maria Z of Z Media. And I'm going to just close with saying that I think that I agree with what Sarah said, that the silencing of our voices, whether that is podcasts or any type of censorship of our lives, the American people's lives, for instance, the examples that they gave about business owners, them being silenced as well, or them being hindered from promoting their business. I think that, as Sarah stated, this is one of the most important, these are, some of the most important issues that we are confronting. And as I've said in some of my previous videos in this series, that this is a very big issue that we've seen very little change in, within our government to, help us out, in helping to resolve this or helping to confront this, the censorship of our voices. And also, most importantly, the fact that our government, any form of government, whether that's intelligence agencies or whether that is, big tech is not government, but even in a case like that, the fact that they're being allowed by our government to trample on our amendment rights, our First Amendment rights, our rights to freedom of speech, rights to privacy as well, things along that line. The fact that our government has not addressed that yet, that's a very big issue. And it just shows us that our government does not fully, some within our government, they're not placing enough stock on the value of our Constitution and our civil liberties. I think that the whole topic of civil liberties really needs to be discussed and highlighted at a much higher level, because it's kind of like one of these things where certain things are being swept under the rug, and because nobody's talking about it, then it just continues on, and it just unravels to, it gets worse. It compounds and gets worse. So that's why I think that it's very important that we do this type of thing. We discuss it, we highlight it, and then like in Sarah's case, she's actually taking legal actions, and I believe that all of that is very, very important. So, but anyways, I hope you enjoyed that video and what was discussed within this podcast. And I have at least one more podcast that within this series of those who spy on our liberties / those who silence our voices. And so I will be creating at least one more within this series. So, but thank you so much. I appreciate you tuning into Deanna's studio. I did want to also remind you, as I close here, to please like the video, also subscribe to Deanna's studio. Would really, really appreciate that. Thank you very much. Have a great